The scene opens with a piercing scream in the night. The sound reverberates through the abandoned alley, sending shivers down the spine. Hannah stumbles backward, her face pale and covered in blood. Her trembling hand clutches a torn piece of fabric, the same one she had seen on the missing victim, a woman who had vanished 2 weeks ago. The chilling discovery sets off alarms in her mind, confirming her worst fear. This wasn't just another case. This was personal. As she stands frozen, the wind howls through the dark alley, and for a moment, the world feels like it's closing in around her. Her pulse races, her heart pounding in her ears. The faintest of movements catches her eye. Someone had been watching. Just as she turns, a shadow vanishes into the night, leaving only the echo of a distant, haunting laugh. This was no random murder. It was a message, and Hannah was the one who would have to decipher it. Hannah slowly steps back, her heart pounding. The alley now feels like a maze, with every corner hiding secrets. She struggles to process what just happened. Was this the same person she had been hunting for years? The person responsible for so many deaths, so many broken families? She pulls herself together, taking a deep breath. She can't let fear control her. Her phone rings, breaking the silence. It's her partner, Frank. He's been trying to reach her for the last hour. "Hannah, where are you? We found something." His voice cracks through the line. She knows it's bad. She hurries out of the alley, making her way to the car, her mind racing. Whatever it was, it could change everything. She isn't prepared, but she has no choice. Hannah arrives at the car, her partner Frank standing by the open door, his face serious. The city feels like a cold, indifferent entity as they drive. Frank hesitates for a moment before speaking, his voice low. "Hannah, we've got a match." She looks at him, her expression unreadable. "A match?" she repeats, hoping she's heard wrong. Frank nods, his face pale. "The victim, she's connected to your old case. Same markings, same mo." The words hit her like a punch in the gut. She thought she had put that nightmare behind her, but it's all come flooding back now. A killer from her past is back, and she's the one who's going to stop them. As they arrive at the scene, the tension in the air is thick. The streets are quiet, but the flashing lights of police vehicles reflect in the puddles. Hannah steps out of the car, her eyes immediately locking on the crime scene. It's a familiar sight, one she never wanted to see again. Her heart races as she walks toward the team, Frank by her side. The body, pale and lifeless, lies under a white sheet. A piece of cloth peeks out from the corner, and she immediately recognizes it. "This is it," she whispers. "The same as before." She kneels down, the memories flooding back. This killer has been waiting for the right moment to return. Hannah's fingers brush against the cloth, her mind racing as she takes in every detail. The killer's pattern is unmistakable. This was no accident, no random act of violence. It was planned, and whoever did this was still out there watching her. "We're dealing with someone who's done this before," she mutters under her breath, more to herself than anyone else. "And they won't stop until they get what they want." Frank steps closer, his voice steady. "We'll catch them, Hannah. We have to." She stands up slowly, her resolve hardening. This case wasn't over. It had only just begun. Hannah stands outside the police station, her mind racing. The weight of the case is starting to sink in. The discovery from last night, the same pattern, the same killer, has rattled her. She can't shake the feeling that something bigger is at play. It's not just a case, she whispers to herself, staring at the darkened skyline. This is something much worse. She walks through the station's entrance, her thoughts chaotic, her heart heavy. As she moves down the hallway toward her office, Frank catches up to her. He's been quiet, but she knows the tension in his eyes. "You don't think it's the same person again, do you?" he asks. Hannah looks at him. She knows exactly what he's thinking. It's the same killer from years ago, the one who disappeared without a trace. But now, the truth is sinking in. They're back, and they want something from her. Inside the office, Hannah spreads out the case files on the desk. The familiar scent of coffee fills the air as Frank pulls up a chair. This is it, Hannah. Every victim's case connects, but no one saw it until now. The files reveal similar murders from the past decade. Each crime shares the same brutal signature. It's like they've been testing us. Learning our weaknesses, Frank says. Hannah flips through the pages, feeling the cold weight of the past. She can almost hear the whispers of the victims, their silent screams. This isn't a coincidence. They've been hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right moment. Hannah slams the folder shut, her mind set. The hunt is on. The killer wants her involved. It's a game to them. And now, she has to play. The next morning, Hannah stands in front of a mural in the city park. Its vibrant colors contrasting with the darkness she feels inside. She's been trying to understand what drives the killer. What makes them tick? Why me? She mutters, her voice barely above a whisper. Frank arrives, his footsteps breaking the silence. It's not personal, he says, his voice calm but firm. You're just the one who's getting too close. But Hannah isn't so sure. Something in her gut tells her that the killer knows more about her than she realizes. She can feel their eyes on her every move. The tension is suffocating. It's not just about catching them anymore, it's about survival. We're going to find them, Frank, she says, her voice steady now, and I'm going to stop them. Later that day, Hannah and Frank return to the scene of the latest murder. The area is quiet now, but the memories of the crime linger in the air. Hannah kneels down, carefully inspecting the ground, her fingers brushing against the dirt. This wasn't just about killing them, she says. This was a message. A challenge. Frank looks at her, confusion in his eyes. A challenge? He repeats. She stands up and faces him, her expression hardening. Yes, they want us to follow the trail, to play their game, and they think they can win. Frank steps back, realizing the magnitude of the situation. So what now? He asks, knowing that whatever comes next will be far worse than anything they've faced before. Hannah turns to him, her eyes filled with resolve. We get ahead of them. We outsmart them. As they leave the scene, the weight of the case presses down on Hannah. Every step feels heavier, every thought more intrusive. We're dealing with a predator, she mutters to herself. Frank glances at her, concern etched on his face. Hannah, don't let them get inside your head, he warns, but it's already too late. The killer is playing with her, using her as bait in a deadly game. It's not just about them anymore, she says, her voice tight with emotion. It's about proving they're not in control. They won't win. She's more determined than ever, the fire inside her burning brighter with every passing moment. The killer wants to test her, to break her, but they haven't seen what she's capable of. Hannah pores over the case files again, the same pages she's looked at 100 times before. But now, the patterns are clearer. Each victim's story is more than just a tragedy. They are pieces of a twisted puzzle. Her eyes move quickly, scanning each detail, trying to make sense of what she's missed. Suddenly, a name jumps out at her: Daniel Blake, a man she knew from her past. He's not just a potential suspect, has a connection, a key. Why didn't I see this before? She mutters, slamming the file down on the desk. Frank steps in, noticing her sudden shift in focus. What is it? He asks. Hannah stands up quickly, her fingers tracing the name on the file. Blake is involved. I'm sure of it. He's the missing link, she says, her voice steady but urgent. We need to find him before it's too late. As the day stretches on, Hannah and Frank are on their way to Blake's last known address, a rundown apartment in a part of the city that time seems to have forgotten. The area is quiet, almost deserted, and the buildings are crumbling. He's been hiding for a long time, Frank says, his voice low. You sure we should be doing this alone? Hannah nods, her jaw clenched. He's the one, I can feel it. They park the car a block away and make their way through the alley. The air is thick, and the distant sound of sirens only adds to the growing sense of dread. As they approach the apartment, Hannah's heart races. She knows this moment could be the breakthrough they've been waiting for, or it could be the beginning of something far worse. The door to Blake's apartment creaks as Hannah pushes it open. Inside, the room is dimly lit, with peeling wallpaper and dusty furniture. It's clear that no one has lived here for a long time. Blake's gone, Frank mutters as he scans the room. But we're not alone. Hannah's eyes narrow as she spots something on the floor. An old, crumpled piece of paper. She kneels down and picks it up, the faint trace of a name scrawled across it. This was his. He left in a hurry, she says quietly. As she stands up, a sudden noise from the other room catches their attention. Did you hear that? Frank whispers. Hannah nods, her instincts kicking in. They're not alone, and whoever's in here with them is hiding something. The noise grows louder, and Hannah signals for Frank to stay low. They move silently through the apartment, creeping toward the source of the sound. The floorboards creak beneath their feet, but they don't stop. As they reach the doorway, Hannah peeks around the corner, her breath held. What she sees makes her blood run cold. Blake, or someone who looks like him, is standing in the middle of the room, a gun in his hand, pointing it directly at them. You shouldn't have come here, he sneers. Now you'll regret it. The tension is unbearable as Hannah slowly raises her hands, her mind racing. We don't want trouble, she says, her voice steady despite the fear gripping her. Blake's lips curl into a sinister smile. It's too late for that. Blake's finger tightens on the trigger, and for a moment, everything seems to slow down. Hannah's thoughts race. This could be the end. But then Frank moves fast. He tackles Blake to the ground, the gun clattering across the floor. Hannah reacts instantly, moving to help Frank. The two struggle, their bodies locked in a chaotic, desperate fight. You should have stayed away, Blake grunts. But Frank's grip tightens around his throat. Hannah grabs the gun, her hands shaking as she points it at Blake. Tell us what we need to know, and this ends now, she demands. Blake smirks, his breath ragged. You think you can stop me? You're too late. The interrogation room feels cold, the dim overhead light flickering as Hannah sits across from Blake, who now looks more defiant than ever. You think this is over? He sneers, leaning back in his chair, his hands cupped. Hannah stares at him, her mind racing. The tension in the room is unbearable. You've been playing this game for too long, Blake, she says firmly. What do you want? Why all this? Why the games? Blake chuckles darkly. You still don't get it, do you? This was never about me. It's about you. His words hit her like a slap. She leans forward, trying to make sense of his cryptic message. You think you can break me? She retorts. I've already broken you, Blake replies, his smile cold. Hannah's grip tightens on the edge of the table as the pieces of the puzzle begin to fall into place. She's been missing something crucial, something he's hiding. Hannah paces outside the interrogation room, her thoughts racing. Blake's cryptic words keep echoing in her mind. She stops and grabs the case file, flipping through the pages for the 100th time. What am I missing? She mutters to herself. Frank enters, his face tense. You don't look good. What did he say? Hannah looks up, her face hardening. He's playing me, Frank. I just can't figure out how. Frank takes a step closer. Maybe it's not about the case at all. Maybe it's about you. The words hang in the air, and for the first time, a chill runs through Hannah. Could Blake have known something about her past? Something no one else knew? She shakes her head. We're too close, Frank. Whatever it is, I'm not backing down now. Back at the crime scene, Hannah walks through the alley where the last body was found. She pauses at the edge of the blood-stained pavement, her mind running through the events of the last few weeks. This doesn't add up, she says aloud, more to herself than to Frank, who stands beside her. There's something we're missing. Blake's involvement is just the tip of the iceberg. Frank looks around, his face grim. What are you thinking? Hannah doesn't answer right away, instead kneeling down to examine a small blood-stained object hidden under a pile of leaves. Her fingers graze it, and for a brief moment she freezes. It's a key. A small, rusty key with an engraving. This is it, she mutters. This is the key to everything. Back in the office, Hannah stares at the key, her mind racing. She holds it up to the light, the engraving barely visible. This isn't just any key, she says, her voice tight with urgency. It's a symbol, a clue. Frank watches her, his face a mix of confusion and curiosity. A clue to what? He asks. Hannah slams her hand on the desk in frustration. I don't know yet, but it's connected to Blake. He left it here for us, hoping we'd find it. The realization hits her. Blake's been manipulating them all along, playing a long game. We're chasing shadows, Frank, but I'm not backing down. I'm going to figure this out no matter what it takes. Frank nods, his expression resolute. Then let's do it together. Hannah and Frank arrive at an old abandoned warehouse late at night. The building looks as if it hasn't been touched in years. The air is thick with the smell of decay, and the windows are boarded up. This is it, Hannah says, her voice barely above a whisper. This is where it all started. Frank looks at her, his expression uneasy. You sure about this? Blake's out there somewhere, watching. Hannah takes a deep breath, her eyes scanning the dark building. He's not going to stop, and neither will I. They enter the warehouse cautiously, the floor creaking beneath their feet. The silence is deafening, broken only by their footsteps. As they make their way deeper into the building, Hannah can't shake the feeling that they're walking right into a trap. The room is tense as Hannah and Frank move cautiously toward the back of the warehouse, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. Every step feels like it echoes in the silence, amplifying their sense of danger. The floor creaks beneath their feet. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the stillness, low and familiar. I've been waiting for you, Detective. Hannah spins around, her heart pounding. There, standing in the shadows, is Blake, the man she's been chasing for months. But something about him is different. There's a calm in his eyes, a cold, unsettling peace. You really think you can stop this? Blake continues, his voice taunting. You're already too late. Frank steps forward, his hand gripping his gun, but Hannah holds him back. We don't need to end this with more bloodshed, she says, her voice steady, though her insides are churning. Blake smiles. It's already begun. Blake steps closer, his movements slow, calculated. You're so much like me, Hannah, he says with a twisted smile. You think you're chasing justice, but really you're just another pawn in my game. Hannah's jaw tightens as she takes a step forward, her voice unwavering. You're wrong, Blake. This isn't a game. Frank moves closer to Hannah, his voice low. We can end this now. We don't need to play by his rules. But Blake only laughs. You still don't understand, do you? He taunts. The game has already been decided. You're just too blind to see it. As Blake speaks, a sudden shift in the atmosphere makes Hannah freeze. Something is off. Something deeper than just a criminal. This isn't just about stopping a killer. It's about something far more personal. Without warning, Blake lunges at Frank, knocking him to the ground in a swift, brutal motion. Hannah reacts instantly, her instincts taking over. She rushes to help Frank, but before she can reach him, Blake pulls out a knife, his eyes wild with madness. You think you can stop me? You're just like all the others, weak. The knife gleams in the low light, and for a moment, everything feels like it's happening in slow motion. Hannah hesitates, but then she remembers the key. She is not just a detective, she's a fighter. In a split second, she charges at Blake, knocking the knife out of his hand and throwing him to the ground. Blake struggles beneath her, his face twisted with fury. "You're nothing without me," he spits. "I made you who you are." Hannah's grip tightens. "No, you didn't," she says, her voice filled with cold certainty. Blake's struggles grow weaker as Hannah pins him down, her body firm and unyielding. Frank slowly gets back to his feet, his breath ragged. "Hannah, don't let him get into your head," Frank warns, his voice filled with urgency. Hannah doesn't respond, her eyes locked onto Blake's as he glares at her, his breathing shallow. "You won't win," Blake says, his voice barely above a whisper. "I've already won. It was always me. You'll never stop me." Hannah shakes her head, her grip tightening. "This ends now," she says, her voice unwavering. She finally looks away from Blake and signals Frank, "Get the cuffs. We're done here." Blake's lips curl into a final sinister smile. "You think you've won? The real game's just beginning." But Hannah doesn't flinch. The truth is, she's already won, because she finally sees through him. As Blake is led out of the warehouse in cuffs, the tension that has gripped the night finally starts to fade. The early morning light begins to break through the broken windows, casting a soft glow over the dark warehouse. Hannah watches as Blake is escorted to the car, the weight of the past few months lifting from her shoulders. But there's no satisfaction in the victory, no relief. She turns to Frank, her face tired but resolute. "It's over," she says softly, though a part of her knows it isn't. There will always be more. More killers, more cases, more darkness. But for now, they've won. Frank nods beside her, his expression quiet. "You did it," he says simply. Hannah watches as Blake is loaded into the car. For now, it's over. But she knows the battle isn't truly won till the next case is solved. The morning after Blake's arrest, the weight of the past few days presses heavily on Hannah. She stands at the window of her apartment, watching as the city comes to life. The early sunlight bathes the streets below, but the peace feels fleeting. The case is finally over, but the scars remain. She thought capturing Blake would bring closure, but instead it's left her hollow. Frank's voice breaks through her thoughts. "You did it, Hannah. You stopped him." She doesn't respond immediately, her gaze fixed on the horizon. The city seems so small, so far removed from the chaos she's been through. "Did I?" she finally asks. "Or did he stop me?" Frank approaches, his hand gently resting on her shoulder. "You fought for it, and you won. Now it's time to move on." But even as he says the words, Hannah knows she can't. The ghosts of the case will haunt her for a long time. Later that day, Hannah visits the gravesite of a victim from the case, standing alone in the quiet cemetery. The wind rustles the leaves, and the air is thick with unspoken word. As she stares at the headstone, a sense of finality settles over her. "I couldn't save you," she whispers, her voice barely audible. "But I stopped him. I promise you that." She kneels beside the grave, her hands resting on the cold stone. The silence is oppressive, yet comforting in its stillness. In the distance, Frank arrives, his footsteps slow and deliberate. "You did everything you could," he says softly, kneeling beside her. Hannah doesn't answer, her eyes focused on the grave. The weight of the case finally begins to lift, but the emotional toll is evident in her expression. "I'll never forget," she replies. The following evening, the investigation is officially closed. The case files are neatly stacked on Hannah's desk, but she can't bring herself to close them completely. It's over, but the shadows still linger. "I thought closing the case would feel different," she says aloud, her voice distant. Frank sits across from her, his expression sympathetic. You can't expect it to feel like some kind of victory, he says. This was never just about catching a killer. It was about facing your own fears, your own demons. Hannah looks down at the case files, her fingers lightly tracing the edges. I'm not sure I'm ready to let go, she admits. Frank watches her, his face softening. You don't have to let go. Just take it one step at a time. She nods, a silent promise to herself that she'll keep moving forward. Weeks later, life slowly begins to return to normal for Hannah. But the sense of peace is fragile. She stands outside the police station, staring at the city skyline, feeling both connected to and distant from it. A soft breeze blows through the air, carrying with it a sense of change. It's strange, she says to Frank, who stands beside her. I thought I'd feel more, something. But it's just quiet. Frank nods, his gaze focused ahead. Sometimes, silence is the hardest part. Hannah lets out a deep breath, her mind turning over the lessons learned. I don't know if I'll ever be the same again, she admits, but I'm alive, and I'm still here. Frank places a hand on her shoulder, a gesture of solidarity. You did what needed to be done. And now, you've earned the right to move forward. As Hannah walks away from the station, she takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of the case lifting off her shoulders. The city feels different now, brighter somehow. The streets no longer seem so overwhelming. She knows the road ahead won't be easy, but she's ready to face it. The past may always linger in the back of her mind, but it no longer defines her. I'll be okay, she murmurs, mostly to herself. I'm stronger now. As she walks further, the camera lingers on her silhouette, the sun setting behind her, casting long shadows on the ground. She's moving forward, one step at a time, leaving the past behind. The city feels quieter now, the weight of the past few months slowly beginning to lift from Hannah's shoulders. She walks down the familiar street, her steps echoing in the silence. The flashing lights from the nearby stores seem distant, the world around her still. She had thought capturing Blake would bring her relief, but it's not that simple. There's no satisfaction in justice, only the hollow feeling of having faced darkness and emerged with scars. Hannah stops in front of a store window, her reflection staring back at her. It's strange to see herself like this, changed, perhaps more so than she's willing to admit. She whispers, almost to herself, it's over. But in the stillness of the moment, she knows it isn't really. I'll never forget, she adds, her voice barely audible, as the city continues to move around her. The next morning, the sun rises over the city, casting a warm glow over the streets. For the first time in weeks, Hannah feels a sense of peace, though it's fragile. As she walks down the street, she notices the small things: children playing in the park, couples sitting on benches, the hum of traffic in the distance. It's all so ordinary, so normal. And yet she feels disconnected. I'll find my way back, she whispers to herself, one step at a time. Frank calls her, and she picks up, his voice steady on the other end. How are you holding up? He asks. Hannah smiles softly, a small but genuine smile. Better, she replies, but it's a long road ahead. Hannah sits at a small cafe, sipping her coffee slowly. The hustle of the cafe feels like a distant hum, the normalcy of it almost surreal after everything that's happened. She looks out the window, lost in thought. The morning sun reflects off the glass, bathing the room in light. You're still here, she tells herself quietly, almost as if reassuring her own heart. She can't undo the past, but she can move forward, one moment at a time. Her phone buzzes and it's a message from Frank. Good to see you getting some peace. Take care of yourself. Hannah smiles softly, replying with a simple thanks. She takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past finally beginning to ease. Later that day, Hannah stands on a bridge, overlooking the river. The sky is clear, the air crisp with the promise of a new day. She watches as the water flows by, the reflection of the buildings on the surface distorted and rippling. Everything's different now, she thinks, but the thought doesn't feel as heavy as it once did. There's something comforting in the idea of change, something freeing. The past will always be there, but it no longer defines her. She smiles faintly as she watches the world move on around her. It's over, she whispers again, this time with a sense of finality. She's ready for whatever comes next. As the sun sets behind her, Hannah takes a final look at the city, the place that has seen her through the worst of times. She knows that life will never be the same, but maybe that's okay. The weight of the past is something she'll carry, but it won't control her. She turns and walks away, her steps confident, the city fading behind her. "I'll be all right," she says softly, more to herself than anyone else. She's ready for whatever the future holds, knowing she's stronger than she was before. And with that, the world continues to turn, and Hannah takes her place in it. Different, but still whole.